All right, Universal Disclosure Podcast proudly welcomes Mr. Jesse Merl.
The talk track that I think is my least favorite of all is when they go, why would a super intelligent, beings or entities, why would they care about little old us? Like, that is the dumbest comment of all time. It's the most terrified I've ever been in my entire life. And it convinced me without a shred of doubt that there's a lot more to my life than I was giving it, than I was giving credit for. It was like the most surreal moment of my life. And then in the morning, I woke up. First thing I thought is, I was like, that felt like a message from someone. And then at that exact moment, I got the confirmation, and it was like, all right, I'm in, dude. Like, undeniable. Whatever. And they said that there was a ton of static electricity in the air. To me, I've heard that so many times. It feels like a logical assumption that the way that they work has something to do with pulling electricity out of the air. The communication being telepathic in a lot of cases really makes you wonder that, I mean, who knows what the experiences actually are. Like, they could, if they have the ability to see inside people's heads, maybe that's some kind of experiment. They go and they put this, they plant this idea in their head, and then they watch and see if it makes any difference, and it makes no difference whatsoever. I'll tell you exactly what I mean. So I have focused a lot of my time recently on the Charlie Kurk, like what happened to Charlie Kurk, kind of the societal reaction to it, the investigation itself, how it was handled both privately and publicly. I have a lot of sources I know a lot more than a lot of people, but this is the answer. It's as simple as...
The following program is presented for general information, education and entertainment purposes only, and is not intended to be advice of any kind. The content, views, thoughts and opinions expressed in this program are those of the individuals involved. The use of information on this program is at the user's own discretion.
All right, Stuart, happy 2026 to you, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good, thanks, Mike. I'm hoping that 2026 is kind of happy. I've got good intentions for the year, and I'm very pleased to be back here with you for another season.
Awesome. Yeah, this is great. This is our third season, so we made it this far, and I don't know what's the official... once you've gone so far, then I don't know what I'm trying to say, but we made it this far, right? And we said in our last one, for anyone who checked that out, the year-end review, that we were going to start 2026 off with a big bang. So what do you think?
Okay, well, I can see that we're bigger on the screen already, which I kind of like. Is that what you were referring to, or something else? No, something else, actually. So we were... this is the cool thing. There's a good number of people now who are in queue who've reached out to us, which is amazing, right? So different people from all over want to join this conversation. And this particular guy that we're going to talk to is pretty damn impressive, actually, and someone who isn't... I wouldn't expect to be having a conversation with, to be honest with you. Wow. Okay, you got me intrigued, Mike. I know a little bit about this guest, but not a whole lot. Could you fill us in, please?
Yeah, so Jesse Merl is a multi-exit tech entrepreneur, media personality, and unapologetic voice in combat sports and culture. The founder of Major League Fantasy, Inc., Jesse has built and sold companies at the intersection of tech, entertainment, and digital communities, earning coverage in outlets like Forbes and Business Journal. As the host of the hit YouTube channel, Jesse on Fire, he has cultivated a passionate audience with millions of views, known for sharp takes on MMA, business, politics, and cultural battles shaping our time. His commentary mixes insider business acumen with raw, unfiltered honesty, and a combination that makes him equally magnetic and polarizing.
Wow. Okay, this could be could have a bit of fire today, I think, Mike.
Yeah, bring on the magnetic polarization now, right? as if we didn't have enough of that in the world.
That's
but anyway,
right.
But beyond the mic, Jesse is a pioneer in Web3 as a co-founder of High Value Target, HVT, and Frogman NFT projects that bring authenticity, patriotism, and storytelling into digital art space. He's also an angel investor, always seeking ventures that disrupt the norm. So quite an interesting guy. Quite an interesting guy.
No, you've got me intrigued there. I like the sort of provocative aspect of that. I'm interested to hear what he's got to say.
As am I. And you know what? He actually just joined us in the waiting room. So, we normally do have a little bit of couch talk, but why don't we put that at the end, I guess, right? Well, we also debrief too. And are you ready? We just bring him right on in?
I am ready, Mike. Thank you.
All right. Universal Disclosure Podcast proudly welcomes Mr. Jesse Merl. All right, Jesse, welcome, and thanks for taking some time and speaking with us. This is going to be really fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited. I love talking about this topic.
So I'm kind of curious. Well, I mean, before we get right into it, we read your bio a little bit earlier as well, but can you just tell us, like in your own words, who are you and why do you even care about UFOs?
So that's funny because I don't even know where in my anything that would be relevant would be in my bio. I have a channel called Jesse on Fire. I'm in the last year or so I've gotten decent followings on additional platforms, but I was primarily on YouTube until recently. I'm doing pretty well on Facebook now, X, Instagram, but yeah, long form YouTube content has been my primary focus, and I talk about all kinds of stuff. I started in combat sports, just as like a niche to start in, but then I expanded into other topics. I try to make it where I can literally talk about anything that I'm interested in, and UFOs have been a very big interest of mine my entire life. And so it's always been something that I weave into my channel. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like I will it'll be hard to talk about something that I know nothing about if it's in the UFO space and it's even moderately well known. I love it.
Okay, so the $1 million question: have you ever seen a UFO or a non-human entity?
I've seen things that were, I couldn't explain them, but nothing like a dead silent craft that was, 15 yards in front of me and then zipped up. Nothing that I would say confidently that I would be able to identify and say I had an experience. There have been things that I thought maybe, but yeah, no, I wouldn't call myself an experiencer or like any kind of serious sighting.
Okay, just curious. And I think it's cool that in a way you haven't, because a lot of the times, with what we do, we primarily do talk with folks like that. So
what about you guys? Have you guys seen anything?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten into it a bit on other episodes, and there's a lot to talk about in that regard. So I am an independent Christian minister. I'm an ordained minister, but I'm also an experiencer. So I've been interested in this topic for a very long time. And I know a lot of the people in the field, either personally or just by reputation. And that's what brought Mike and I together to do this show. So it's been like a lifelong thing. And I'm trying to understand, Jesse. I don't know everything about the topic, but I love sharing with other people and just discussing it, seeing what we can uncover together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had a couple sightings myself. I've talked about in the past as well on other episodes. Just real quick though, because I mean it was kind of I thought it was a big damn deal because I used to live near downtown LA, right in front of between Dodger Stadium and the skyline, and I saw this red-orange ball of fire going across the sky. And at first I thought it was like a meteorite or something. And then I realized it was going too slow and it's too low. And it was, perfectly, it had it was like under some type of control. And it was like this flickery plasma fire. It was hard to describe. It went right over Dodger Stadium. And I thought for sure there was going to be, it's going to be all over the news. The lights were on. I don't know if it was a game or a concert or something, but something was going on there, and clearly everyone must have seen this thing. And then I look over a little bit more to the right, and there were two other ones that were just hovering, and it took about 15 seconds to go from what I'm going to say is 5,000 to 7,000 feet up through into outer space, like one at a time. And I have no explanation for that. It made me very peaceful for like an entire week afterwards, and that was very significant to me. So I don't know what that was, but it wasn't anything, man-made, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
wild. That's the things that I had seen are similar to that, where except they were far enough off where I don't know. I still don't really know what to make of them. The most significant one I saw, it was going the opposite direction, green from top to bottom, and then kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's not even worth talking about because I don't have, I was much, much, much younger, but that might have been where I got interested in it though. But I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I know so much about the different incidents that are very well known though, and I feel like maybe part of the reason that I've stayed so focused on the topic throughout my life is because I've always fancied myself pretty good at assessing people's poker face and who's credible and who's not. And when you get to these people they have bulletproof credibility. Either in the position they're in, I look at them and I'm like, this person is telling a real story. And you listen to what they're saying and you're like, how would you explain this? And also, how would you explain the fact that this person's story matches this story, this story, this story, this story with all of these other people that I would say are relatively credible? I don't know. It's just the mystery of it all is why it's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the most profound things that we could ever think about as humans. I don't know if you know this or not too, but I work with MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. I'm a field investigator here in Southern California. So I'm speaking with people almost on a daily basis who've either seen something or experienced something. And, much like what you just said, I'm, assessing, are they believable? Are they credible, et cetera? Most of the time they are. And, most of the time I can identify what it is. But that's part of the, I don't know, my personal fuel, I guess, is to actually do the nitty gritty, dirty work, if you will. And it's quite fascinating where, the different topics that, the themes that come up. And right now, these little red orange plasma balls do seem to be making a lot of news, if you will, throughout the country and potentially the world. And they go all the way back to, we interviewed Robert Salas a while back. He was with the Maelstrom Air Force Base with the nuclear missiles underground. And they were describing something similar, at least in color. Not to say that, we're talking about the exact same stuff, but I find it fascinating that it's...
Where's Maelstrom again?
That is in, it's in Montana, somewhere Montana-ish, I think.
Okay, so the reason why I asked is only because I was just making sure we're not talking that was not Rendlesham Forest, because the Rendlesham Forest incident, plasma, with the same exact type of report, where that one was really interesting in how unique the whatever night that was, second, third night, where there was the red orb and it had something dripping out of it or whatnot. That is one of those things that I had never heard anyone else say. And I would consider that guy, the colonel, one of the most credible witnesses. He was there to debunk it. That was the purpose of him being there. And he comes home with, one of these stories that is just, I don't know, explain how something intelligent was not operating that and make it make sense. And then, you know what I mean?
Same with Dr. J. Allen Hynek. He was set to, his task was to debunk the whole process, and in the end he became a believer. So I've got huge respect for him as well.
Yeah, and we also interviewed his son, Paul Hynek, and the fact that Paul is so openly public about, the whole disclosure movement and such, to me says something, the son of the guy the first ufologist, as it were. He also talked about his dad he and his family were on a cruise with Neil Armstrong, and Neil Armstrong specifically asked to sit at their table, and he's like, that meant something too, because he's seen in public. This is way back when you talked about this stuff and you got laughed at, or at best. But anywho,
they still, sometimes the subject is also interesting because it'll give me a gauge on people, just based on how they react to the topic, where sometimes if people who are super dismissive of it, I kind of go, all right, that's interesting to me that anyone would be that dismissive of it. And then other things that people will say are also bizarre. Like the talk track that I think is my least favorite of all is when they go, why would a super intelligent, beings or entities, why would they care about little old us? Like, that is the dumbest comment of all time. And it makes me honestly just not like, it makes me lack respect for whoever said it every time. And you're like, what? Look at humanity. Like, what is not interesting about humans? Like, put yourself in their position and just imagine what their society is probably like, or what kind of beings you're doing. I mean, I hate that talk track, man. I think it's so stupid.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. But yeah, that's very telling to me as well. When somebody, and I see this a lot actually, and I'm not going to name names, but within ufology at large, I feel like a lot of the folks are a little too close-minded, and it's weird that they're even exploring the topic that literally touches everything, and then they're not necessarily open-minded enough to accept certain things or completely dismiss something if it doesn't fit within that very rigid nuts and bolts type of thing. Because what we do here is we mix the nuts and bolts with the non-physical and the esoteric nature of it. And the main point is, why should anyone give a damn about this topic? Like, what does it mean for you? So, like, in fact, Jesse, what does it mean for you? Like, let's say, I mean, we already know now, there's no question that UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, are real. The U.S. government has, the military has said that they exist. They don't know what they are. What does that mean for you as a person, as a father, as a business person? Like, why do you even care?
It's funny because the other talk track that I would have listed as something that's telling about a person is when they say, as an example, like if I told someone about the Phoenix Lights and how many people saw it and the story, and they go, all right, so if it's aliens, like, or if it's whoever, like, who cares? And I'm like, who cares? Like that. And it's just, I'm 100 miles from being able to even relate to that comment. And I just find that very interesting because, to me, people who kind of cruise through their life very uninterested in the nature of our reality, what's real, what's not. And that I can't relate to it. So I almost can't really comment on that position, because for me, I am very much a seeker of knowledge in terms of what are we doing? What is all of, like, what's the nature of the reality that I'm in? What exists that I can't see? If we are just like a fledgling, I don't know, civilization, and there are, civilizations that are millions of years ahead of us, what does that look like? And I don't know. And if they're here, what are they doing here? I don't know. I'm a curious person, I guess, when some people apparently are not,
All right. Well, let me rephrase that, I guess. Because what I mean by that is, here's what happens a lot of times, almost all the time, when somebody has an experience. It's something that just happens. Sometimes they will seek it out, but more often than not, it's just something that happens. Right? You're going about your business, and then boom, you see something, or there's something in your room, or you have these weird memories about, like, floating through walls or something, bizarre stuff. And then as they process it, they have what Stuart and I have talked about as well. Like, we've each experienced this ourselves, is the dark night of the soul. Like, you realize how dark humanity is, or the idea that there is another intelligent form out there that is beyond us, if you will.
Yeah,
have you ever gone through that, or
you kind of end up questioning everything, like, okay, what's real, what's fake, where am I now?
I can't believe I'm doing this today, because I had that happen in the most profound experience of my entire life on the 31st. I can't talk about it, unfortunately, but I had an experience on the 31st, and then in the morning of the 1st, which this is like I'm an open book, but this one there's just I can't talk about it very much, but it's the most terrified I've ever been in my entire life, and it convinced me without a shred of doubt that there is there's a lot more to my life than I was giving it, than I was giving credit for. It's a really stupid, cagey answer for a podcast, but at some point when we've talked about it publicly, because there were other people there, when we were like, I can't talk about it until we've all agreed that it's something we could talk about. But yeah, I mean that just happened. It is my cell phone home screen is a reminder of that. So it's like the forefront of everything that I do is like, from here on, you need to remember that this is the reality that you actually live in, and you need to behave as such. But so yeah, I definitely 100% believe that.
Okay, so it sounds like something potentially serendipitous may have happened a couple days ago. And
we dodged a bullet that it would have been a catastrophe on a level that I couldn't exaggerate if I tried, due to reckless behavior that is very outside of my normal behavior. And afterwards, it was like the most surreal moment of my life. And then in the morning, I woke up. First thing I thought is, I was like, that felt like a message from someone. And then at that exact moment, I got the confirmation, and it was like, all right, I'm in, dude. Like, undeniable. It's you asked the question, I realize it's like so stupid and mysterious, but it's the only way. Maybe offline I could tell you guys a little bit more about it, but I certainly can't put it on a podcast today yet.
Wow, beautiful. This is what I think I'm hearing, Mike. Something happened, and then some entity or being intervened to prevent something negative happening.
Potentially. I mean, I feel like we should just let it be what it is.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing too. With what you're describing is probably not something anyone would put into the UFO or alien ET category. However, there is so much overlap in gray area in between that I sometimes don't know where to draw the line myself. But
you mean like the UFO phenomenon and like spirituality in general?
Yeah. I'm actually personally almost convinced that we don't have physical UFOs, that they're all of a different dimension of sorts, and we see them, they look physical, but maybe they're not as physical as we think. I could be wrong. We have fantastic stories that our military has and other military has, allegedly these craft that we have no real proof that they have. I'm of the mind that the ones that we have collected are likely man-made, and they may have malfunctioned. Because we, I mean, I can go down a big rabbit hole there, but the point is, with this channel, we right from the start is we're mixing the non-physical with the physical, and I am pretty confident majority of all of this that we're talking about is non-physical in nature, or at least not physically that we perceive it as.
Well, Mike, that's how I see us as individuals. We're physical, but we're also spiritual. Now, keep in mind, I'm a minister, so of course I'm going to have that perspective, but I've found that's true in my own life through things like astral projection, where I've seen my body separately on the bed to my spirit. So I think that's what everything is here. Everything has a spiritual aspect to it. So I don't find that unusual, your statement just now.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say in terms of like the UFO, I agree with everything that you guys are saying. I'm just in terms of the UFO side of it, there are certain types of experiences that would require a physical component to them for them to be true, which are experiences that I do believe. Like as an example, like Travis Walton's story, I believe him. Like I think that he's telling a true story, and I think that his logic behind it, that what had happened was him being tossed however 100 yards off of away from that craft was an accident, that he just happened to be there when they were doing whatever that they do to charge. It seems like between that story, the Travis Walton story, where they run up on a like a downed saucer that's in the forest, holds a very similar story to the previous day in Rendlesham, when those guys walk up on that craft that's in the forest. They walked around it for about 45 minutes, and then eventually it just kind of powered up and then shot, into the whatever. And they said that there was a ton of static electricity in the air. To me, I've heard that so many times. It feels like a logical assumption that the way that they work has something to do with pulling electricity out of the air, but I think that the Travis Walton story, that I think they hurt him like by accident. I think it was an accident that they hurt him. They realized it, and then they pulled him onto the craft. They fixed him as best they could, and then they dropped him off, or whatever. That one feels to me like they're, if assuming that they're telling the truth, which I think that they probably are, would need to have some kind of physical component to it. But I mean, who knows? You know what I mean?
That's a fair statement to make. I'm going to potentially make myself out to be an idiot real quick, but I'm familiar with both Rendlesham and Travis Walton's accounts. But you said that the very next day. So did Rendlesham happen literally the very day before Travis Walton? Or was
no. I'm sorry. What I meant was the Rendlesham thing happened over multiple days. When we were talking about the one where the liquid metal was coming off of the orb, that happened the following night from when they found the triangle that was in the forest. Like there was a few nights, I think, but the one where those three guys went out into the forest and then they walked around, they wrote down the symbols that they saw on the craft. Those guys were either the first or second experiencers, and then the colonel came to debunk all of this stuff. And then that night is when the orb was flying around, kind of going through the forest in between, that had so I was talking about the previous night to that, not to Travis Walton.
Okay. I misheard you. But yeah, I'm always open to learning from anybody. Like, but anywho.
I think Travis Walton was 1972, and I think that Rendlesham was early to mid 80s, maybe. I'm not sure. You guys might know that one better.
Yeah, that definitely sounds about right. That's why I was like, that doesn't, that connection didn't seem quite right. But yeah, I mean, okay, true. I shouldn't say like 100% non-physical stuff, but anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. And just to go back to what you were saying earlier, we've spoken to a lot of people here. One of them was Mary Rodwell, who's an Australian therapist, and she's helped thousands and thousands of abductees or contactees, whatever you want to call them. And they've done some studies, and I think it was like 75 or 80% of them believed that their contact experience was not of a physical nature. So that also is kind of an interesting thing. And when people have abductions, they tend to sometimes see dead relatives. That's kind of weird. So it's I think we're at the threshold or the precipice right now where we're mixing these worlds of science and what do you call it, spirituality or whatnot, and it's uncomfortable for some people, for sure. But that's why we're here to hopefully help break down those walls.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting to think about too, just in that it seems through a lot of consistent reports from people who have interacted with different beings or entities or whatnot, that it seems like the communication being telepathic in a lot of cases really makes you wonder that, I mean, who knows what the experiences actually are. Like, if they have the ability to see inside people's heads, and then, I agree with you that there's a lot there for sure.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. Can you imagine if we had the ability to, our thoughts weren't private?
People start being a lot more honest real fast.
Well, that's true too. But what's your take on all that, actually? Because one of the things that we've been sort of trying to help with is the experiencer aspect of, it's one thing we have government congressional hearings about UFOs. They say that they're real, yada yada yada, but they're that's the surface level stuff. At the end of the day, who's in it, who's controlling it, and such. And now we've got hundreds of thousands, maybe more people around the world who have had interactions with these beings. What do you think about that in general? Aside from what do you think about that in general?
Do you mean do you mean about how the government is being more transparent about what they're talking about, or just the can you
okay, so farther down the line, like we're still having the disclosure conversation publicly around the world. Is it real? Does it exist? How can you not pay attention to this person saying it? And then let's fast forward it, and it leads to this thing of contact, where these beings are contacting us. So that's what I want. What's your take on the contact aspect?
So it's hard to make any strong, confident comments on it because I don't know exactly what the motivation of them would be. I mean, I feel like I can just confidently say that it is real. So I'm just going to speak that way, even though obviously there's no. So I guess the question would be, what are they doing here? What are their goals? And when you think about certain things, like as an example, if they are an external civilization that's coming here and observing us, and they had a purpose that might be letting us know that our current trajectory is a death spiral and we need to make changes to save the planet and our civilization, whatever. How would they go about it? Because even if they're a million years advanced, they still are going to have to operate inside the parameters of humanity, humans on Earth. And how would they do that? And I think to the South Africa school, where all of them have the exact same experience. Some kind of entity communicated with them telepathically and told them that technology is not good for humanity, it's all bad. And to me, that seems like maybe that's some kind of experiment. They go and they put this, they plant this idea in their head, and then they watch and see if it makes any difference, and it makes no difference whatsoever. And so I think that humans are very flawed beings in general. And if you think about, if we could actually see or hear the thoughts that are in other people's minds, I think that would certainly solve a lot of problems in terms of war escalation, because I mean, we build up weapons, we build up nukes, we build all this stuff up because by nature, we are protective of the group that we care about, and we're wary of external groups that might attack us and take our stuff. And in many cases, that drive to attack and take people's stuff comes from the fear that someone might do it to you. And so in the event that you could actually be able to see each other's thoughts and realize that the aggression is coming from a fear of the other side, it's like, oh, we don't need to be afraid of these guys. They're only doing this because they're afraid of us. And they have that exact same realization at the same time. But that's just not, humans can't see that. And it just, I don't know. It just seems like we have a lot of unfixable problems about humanity in general. I have no idea if that's the question that you asked, but that's where my brain went.
Wow. I like awesome. That a lot. I really like that answer. Okay, I'll tell you a bit of my perspective, and it might be wrong or right, but this is what I'm landing at the moment. I think we do exist in a simulation, and the whole purpose of it is to experience limitation so we can see what choices we make. Do we choose love? Do we choose unity? And whoever's outside the simulation might be wanting to tweak the game a little bit here and there if we're on a destructive course. So that would make sense why they have the bird's eye view of what's happening. So if I told you, listen, I'm going to go and have an experience, no matter what happens, don't wake me. I'm going to have a nap. I'm going to have a dream. Whatever happens, don't wake me from that dream. I'll be upset if you do that. And then if you see me really struggling in the dream and, something awful, what are you going to do? Well, do we wake him? He told us not to wake him. We were told not to interfere. Do we intervene now? What do we do? So I kind of empathize for their position as well. Now, that's where I'm landing at the moment on this. That might be wrong or right, but that's after all the experience I've had personal and observing other accounts, that's where I'm landing.
I agree with you. I mean, without double clicking too deep into it, on the basis of what your belief is, I agree absolutely 100%. And that's what I'm saying. I got hit over the head on December 31st in a way that it made it completely undeniable on my side. But yeah, I have always thought that, or maybe not always, certainly since the very first time that I put a VR headset on in I always kind of felt like that. But the first time I put a VR headset on in maybe 17, and I'm like, okay, every sense that I have is telling me that I'm walking around a city. I know I just have some thing on my head. Well, where does this technology go in 200 years? You know what I mean? Like I already feel like I'm walking around in a city. I hear things, whatever, you know, they're going to be able to solve for me feeling physically, whatever I'm doing also. And at a certain point, we're going to figure out a way to where the person experiencing it doesn't realize that they're in it. And seems completely inevitable, whether that is a spiritual thing or a technological thing. But I've seen enough evidence in my own life that I couldn't explain any other way than what you just laid out. And I'm aligned with, you know, I mean, obviously you can't like know, but that's what that's what I feel also.
Nice.
It's a fine balance. Like imagine in a fight, like you got that kind of background, someone's going to get killed. Do we stop the fight or do we let the fight continue? It's the same kind of dynamic.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of want to say something that's potentially controversial, scary, and dangerous.
Let's have it, Mike.
I've been thinking about this one for a while. I don't know if we'll keep it in or not, but one of the things that I've concluded in this, looking into all these things, is that nothing really matters. Life basically has no meaning except for the meaning that you give to it. And if everyone should come to that conclusion all at the same time, you know, Steven Spielberg now has a new trailer out for a movie that's coming out in a couple months, and you know the person's gonna give total disclosure to the whole planet all at the same time. Okay, well, is that really a good idea? You know,
what's the name of that movie?
I believe it's called Disclosure. I think it's just called Disclosure. Have you not?
Man, I'm very excited for that.
Oh shit! Yeah, that way. I'll send you the trailer link. When we're
I'm
done
already
here.
on his IMDb while you're talking, looking for what because I'm going to see that the day it comes out.
I mean, it definitely does look cool. And we've talked to a couple of people who channel and such too, and they've basically sort of come out with that same thing. Nothing matters, and I do believe that that's potentially a lot of why we're not getting the thing that everybody seems to want, this red carpet disclosure event where the president of the United States comes out and says, ladies and gentlemen, and blah, blah, blah. It's because when that happens, everything kind of crumbles. And I don't know. That's what I think.
I also have struggled to get myself to a place where I think that there's any human who knows what this really is. You know, like so I'm sure that there's a lot of, you know, there's got to be information out there that some people know that others don't. But I just try to like, how would any human be able to understand in full what this is? You know, even if I just try to think of scenarios where they would be, and I just can't think of one where they would have all of the information. But certainly, it's called Disclosure Day, by the way. I found it, and it looks amazing.
Disclosure. That's what it is. Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, there's certainly, I don't know. I mean, hypothetically, if there were downed craft and they had a way of sourcing where it came from, I mean, that would be the greatest, you know, discovery in the history of humanity just on its own. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not because I'll tell you exactly what I mean. So I have focused a lot of my time recently on the Charlie Kurk, like what happened to Charlie Kurk, kind of the societal reaction to it, the investigation itself, how it was handled both privately and publicly. I have a lot of sources I know a lot more than a lot of people, but one of the things that I saw early on that was very interesting to me, and it has to do with how high level government officials handle this kind of thing, is they charged Tyler Robinson with the crime. They had a story in the charging documents of exactly what happened. And then the next day, Kash Patel put a post up on X and said, guys, just so you know, we're still looking into this. We're still looking into this one. We're looking into this theory. We're looking into this. And everybody goes, why are you still looking into that if you already have the guy who did it? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have posted this? And it was like in that moment that I tracked back to all of the different situations where I had watched the director of the FBI go in front of Congress or go on television, or people, you know, the Secretary of Defense, and refuse to answer questions. And every time that they do that, you always operate under the assumption that they have the information and they are choosing not to give it to you. And what I realized when I was watching Cash do that is I'm like, this is the answer. It's as simple as, if they don't say anything, then we interpret it as them knowing and choosing not to tell us, which strengthens the impression that the institution is strong and almighty and knows everything, whatever. The second that they disclose too much, whether they know it to be true or they think it's true or whatever, if we learn that they don't know, then that's a huge has a huge negative impact on the impression that they are all powerful and as strong as they want us to believe they are. And so when I apply that to the Disclosure Project, I just go, I bet you they don't know. Like they act like they're dodging questions, but their approach is going to be exactly the same as, Christopher Wray acting like he doesn't know the answer to this, that, or the other, when they, there's no upside to them telling anyone because it threatens the institution in general. I just think there's a lot of crossover there when you really think about it, where there might not be people who know. And if they do know, I doubt that it is the government itself that knows it. It would probably be high-ranking people that kind of do that thing where they go in and out of the top of government and private organizations where, like Christopher Mellon, is a perfect example. Like Christopher Mellon, who's going out and doing Joe Rogan and talking about all that stuff, who comes from the Mellon banking dynasty, and he's one of. I mean, this is how the game is played at the top of the food chain. They have people who are at the top of government, they have people who are at the top of banking, and they have people who are at the top of these industries, and they all collaborate and work together because that's how you maximize power. That's why when I listen, then they all speak the same way too. They never really, when Christopher Wray was on Joe Rogan, as an example, and Joe Rogan talked about Bob Lazar, and Chris Mellon said, yeah, I looked into him a little bit, and we could talk offline. And I said to my wife, I was like, I looked into him a little bit is code for I've torn this guy's life apart. There's not one thing that I do not know about this guy's life from birth until this moment, and like that's how they talk. They're cagey like that by nature. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that they know as much as we think they do.
Yeah, well, I sometimes say, when is the official story ever 100% true? And I would say almost never. And to your point about the fact that they may not know, I've been fascinated by who's been speaking to Chris Bledsoe. Such high-level people going to his property there to talk to him, to ask questions about what this phenomena is. People who we might think should already know, but they're going to someone like Chris to find out what's going on.
Yeah. On the Charlie Kurk thing, it's funny you say that, because one of these big things that we just found out a couple of weeks ago is there's a guy named, oh my gosh, I'm going to not do the thing where someone tries to think of a name because it's not relevant. Okay, so a guy who's a former Delta Force guy. He's a big influencer, very, very, very legit background he was a contractor for the CIA, but he's a military guy. He was a Green Beret, whatever. So he went on a show and went public with the fact that there was a moment where Tulsi Gabbard, who's the director of national intelligence, and her deputy were starting to look into whether there was any foreign influence in the Charlie Kurk assassination, and they were shut down by Kash Patel and the FBI. They wouldn't allow them to enter the investigation to look into if there was any foreign interference. And that guy, okay, I'm not 100% sure if it was the director of national intelligence, one of these guys that is at the absolute top of the intelligence apparatus on the international stage, went to the guy I'm talking about. Gosh, this is going to drive me crazy. I'll think of it later. But went to this guy to ask him if he knew anything about something that they were looking into. And he said on the podcast, and I was like, you're asking me? Like, how would I know if you guys don't know? And so it was, and I don't think he was really supposed to talk about it on the podcast, but it was a huge deal to all of us because we're like, wait, so Kash Patel's locking out our own intelligence agencies out of looking into it. And this guy who's, like right there at the top is calling a civilian and being like, hey, do you know anything about this? Where, I don't know. It just it seems we assume they know things and they don't a lot of the time.
I would have to absolutely agree with that too.
Mike Glover. Mike Glover is his name.
Glover.
Sorry.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree with that. Like, Lou Elizondo, I don't know if you've heard about him or whatnot. He's come out and, he's getting a lot of heat now too, because, he's put out a bunch of images that were bunk, as it were, and definitely doesn't help the cause, right? I don't really have an opinion either way, other than to say that, once in, never out. He's a counterintelligence person. He's probably still doing his job, but also, it's his job to look at everything as a threat. So because we don't know the intentions of these beings, we're going to assume that that's a threat. I think that's the wrong way to go about it, and to broadcast that kind of thing, because if there were a threat element to the ET, whatever the heck ET is, we probably wouldn't be even talking right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I always. Anyone who talks about the dangers of it or whatever, I mean, I'll admit that there's a potential danger of a mid-air collision, perhaps, but we don't know of any of those throughout history that weren't provoked, as it were. So I don't think that's really an issue either. But anyway, I just wanted to toss that out there, because I think with the idea that they being the leaders or government officials or whatnot, probably don't know as much as they let on to know. They're weaving this other kind of narrative to make you all fearful of it.
It's kind of the only way that they know how to do the government thing. Is like, that's what we exist to do, is save you guys from threats. It's like, because what else would we be doing here? And I don't know. So on what you said about assessing ETs from a threat perspective, I agree with you in terms of, if they're here, they've probably been here for a lot longer than we've had even moderately competent technology to be even able to fight them off. Because the only counter argument to them not being a threat would be, well, why are they so focused on our nuclear weapons? I think that the obvious answer would be because they know we could destroy the entire planet with these things, and they're more likely to be trying to protect us from ourselves than anything else. But you do have to at least entertain that they could be looking at it like, well, if we invade these guys, what defense? Okay, they could just, if they destroy all of us and themselves, that's not ideal. I think it's less likely that that's what they're doing by a long shot. But, I mean, I don't know. It's these guys who are top of intelligence, that's what, if there's no threat, what's their job? What are they doing there?
Very true. Very true.
How do you feel about Elizondo and like Christopher Mellon and those guys in general? Like, do you think that they're good actors? Like,
me personally, I respect what they're doing. Intelligence information always has some erroneous information on purpose, because you can tell where a leak's coming from. So if I tell Mike the getaway car was black, and I tell you, Jesse, the getaway car was green, then depending on what story I end up hearing back, I know where the leak came from. So I'm always aware that there's some disinformation in intelligence sources, but I still appreciate what they're bringing forward.
Yeah.
Interesting that you
say, even if they're lying to me, it's like, sometimes just, I needed something to read that day, and it's the lie is interesting.
It was interesting that you said good actors. I mean, maybe they are actors. I don't know. But
I know. I meant good actors. Like, are their intentions pure? But that's funny too. Like,
no, I'm very dry. But I do think that their intentions are pure. But I also think that they're just, well, maybe more so one than the other is kind of going about it in the wrong way, or should just you did your job, now gracefully step aside and let the public do their thing, right? I kind of feel like that's where we're at.
Who do you think would be the person that could do a big public disclosure and the community would feel like a big disclosure has happened? Because you could argue that, like, we've had a lot of those moments, and it's like, you kind of go, all right, well, when's the big disclosure happening? And then you could go and you could kind of point to a bunch of things that have happened that might feel like that has happened to an extent. I don't know.
Honestly, from an American perspective, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Steven Spielberg might be the guy.
Wow.
I mean,
Steven said, I wasn't sure where you were going to go with that. I was going to say, because if you said Trump, I was going to be like, I don't think everybody's going to buy it, dude.
No, no. I mean, I think that out of all presidents who've been around since I've been around, Trump would be the guy to do it, but I don't think he even has the balls to do it himself. But even if he did, at least 50% of the people, that's just because it came out of his mouth, they're not going to believe it.
That's exactly the problem. If it's the president, half the people, no matter which president it is, are not going to believe it. It's like, I'm sure that that's by design by the people who actually run the world. But in general terms, like who would be the person that would, make a big disclosure and everyone would know? I do find, speaking of that, I do find it interesting that one of the people who was very interested in the topic was the patriarch Rockefeller, or at least the patriarch when I was alive, the guy, the really old one that used to get pictured with Hillary Clinton sometimes. And then, and then John Podesta also had talked about it a lot publicly. And I'm sure that that's an extension of the Rockefeller guy too. But anyway, I don't know. I like, those are the kinds of people that I look at who I assume know most things that are able to be known, but I don't know. I mean, I genuinely don't think that there is a human who knows everything, would be my guess. I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, see, there have been spiritual masters like Buddha and the Christ who have come forward and tried to tell us about our reality. And even authors like Philip K. Dick have come forward and said we live in a simulation. And I think there's a certain amount of us that'll entertain the idea, if not believe it. But it's got kind of a limited audience. I really feel that, Mike.
Yeah, no, and I would agree that there's likely not anyone who knows everything about this particular topic, but there's certainly no shortage of people who will try to tell you otherwise. And now that's the other thing too. Now that this conversation is really becoming mainstream, we've sort of predicted, if you will, that there's going to be all kinds of nonsense coming forward, and people saying stuff to try to take the limelight over. There's already some people, I'm not going to name their names, but who are trying to just like, don't listen to anybody but me. I know, it's just like, that's your red flag number one is that
certainty. Certainty is your red flag.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What's funny about the simulation thing that I'll just throw this out since we're talking about it is one thing that I have been thinking about is how, DNA is code. Right. So if DNA is code, then, essentially everything is code. And so I did this reel maybe like 5 years ago with my wife, where she told me that a chicken is the evolutionary relative of Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I made this, cause that's like the agreed upon scientific truth is that Tyrannosaurus Rex evolved into like a chicken. And I was like, a chicken is Tyrannosaurus Rex. She's like, yes. And I'm like, a chicken, Tyrannosaurus Rex. She's like, yes. And when I looked it up, their evidence of that is something about the, the similarities between their legs and all of this, whatever. There's some kind of like scientific thing for why Tyrannosaurus is now a chicken. And I thought about that, and that thing is always stuck in my head. And what I believe that could represent in a simulation is it's just recycled code. Like the similarities are just recycled code. The legs are this, the legs are that, it's just recycled code. I have no idea. It's just something I've been thinking about recently because no one's going to convince me that a chicken is a descendant of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm sorry. I just can't get there, dude. That's a bridge too far for me.
No, I get that. There's another perspective that we've devolved to this point, that we've fallen into time, so that we're spiritual beings and we've fallen into materiality, which is the exact opposite perspective to that, which might be a bit of a shocker for people that are mostly looking in terms of evolution, that we've come up from this point to that point. But I actually think we've fallen into this reality, this simulation. And then we've forgotten who we are.
I could get down with that.
I think there are entities outside the simulation who are trying to wake us up. There have been people who have incarnated into this earth to try and wake us up, to try and tell us what's going on. I think you know the sort of people I'm talking about. That thrust is still here today. And the message is there for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see. So in other words, it's not going to go against your free will. If you want to know, you'll find out. If you don't want to know, you won't find out. Seek and you shall find, sort of thing. But I'm also really shocked about how prevalent this message is all around us now. Mike and I are hyper aware of it because we've been on this track for so long. But Mike, are you also shocked about how often we're hearing this message about disclosure?
Oh, well, what do you mean? What message about disclosure?
Well, just in general, like military people coming forward saying, we're not alone. Another
okay.
Spielberg movie talking about disclosure.
Spielberg's been doing the disclosure thing for 40 years though. Like, because he did Close Encounters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And E.T.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm suspect of it. Why? Like you've said, Stuart, why now? Why now? Why now is all these people coming forward?
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I like it that like when we did that conversation about the Age of Disclosure documentary, somebody commented and was like, it was CIA propaganda. And then, I later said, like, I don't care if it is, because it's getting you to think about it. It's getting you to talk about it. And then from there, that's only going to go so far. So I don't know what to make of it, really. But I'm really interested in this new Steven Spielberg movie, actually. And I wanted to toss something out there to you guys, too. Because I saw somebody, I don't remember who did it, somebody online did this analysis of, like, Jesse, if you haven't yet, watch the trailer, and there's a specific sound in there that's really, it's interesting, it's eerie, it's a combination of all kinds of things. And somebody online broke that down, and they're like, I know what that sound is. I don't know if I should tell you right now or not.
And what was the... honestly, I can watch it this second.
Why don't, if you can, like, it's literally 2 minutes. We'll just, edit that part out, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, hang on. Let's okay. I'm really excited. It was going to be the very first thing that I did as soon as we got off. Anyway, so Day of Disclosure trailer. Okay, I'm going to watch it right now.
All right, cool.
Well, I'm going to see that the millisecond it comes out. And I know that sound too. Where is...
Whoa.
Okay.
Oh, I know what it's from.
All right.
I know what it's from.
All right,
That's the sound from the movie The Empty Man. That's the movie. Okay, so the Empty Man movie, that is the sound that they hear when the Empty Man... I can't believe that I'm very proud of myself in this moment that I put... Because as soon as I heard it, I knew, I'm like, I've heard that before for sure. And the movie The Empty Man, if you go watch that, great movie, by the way, that's the sound. That and you see it in the first... kind of the introduction scene, which is about... I mean, it's not short. It's like 25 minutes, but like it is inside the introduction to the movie, which is it's a long movie, but it's excellent. And you'll hear that sound for 100% sure. That's definitely where I've heard it before, at least.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. I've never heard of that particular movie, but I'll check it out.
The Empty Man.
The Empty Man. What's it about? Just really quick, generally.
It's better if you go into it stone blind.
Okay, fair enough. We'll do
but
that.
if I will be surprised if you do not dig that movie. You'll like, I liked it a lot. I had confused it with the movie called like The Bye Bye Man, I think, that came out right around the same time, which is just some cheeseball horror movie. And so I don't even remember how it came on or how I was watching it, but I just was randomly watching. I'm like, man, this is way better than I thought it was going to be, because it's also kind of in the horror genre. It's much more complex, and it's a very complicated mystery. But and at the end, I'm like, who said this movie sucks? And then I looked it up, and then I realized I was like, oh, okay, no one did. This is a different movie.
Awesome.
It came out at a really weird time where I think let me see exactly when it came out, because it's got a 73 on Rotten Tomatoes. It came out 2020. That's exactly what it was. It had a very weird release in when COVID was like first just nuking movies and they had no chance. And it was one of those that just kind of like, I think it already got, I don't remember exactly what month it came out, but that's why it didn't, but it's great.
Okay. Interesting. I'll definitely check that out. So the thing that I heard, I should try to find it too, and maybe put a link up to it or something. Have you ever, Stuart? You may know this, but Jesse, have you ever heard of a guy named Bashar or Daryl Anka channeling an entity named Bashar?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. If you start talking about it, I'll tell you if I've heard about it before.
So Daryl Anka is, with all due respect, he's just this bald guy who channels an entity that's called Bashar. He's on stage. He usually just sort of closes his eyes, and he'll deliver a message, and then people can ask questions, and he says the most profound, intelligent stuff you've ever heard out of a human's mouth. Whether it's somebody, whether it's tapping into his higher consciousness or another entity, who knows? But the person who, I think I saw this on X, they were like, this is where this noise came from. When this guy channels and he's on stage talking to people, sometimes apparently the entity he's channeling will also have a conversation with someone else, but allegedly from a different world or whatever, at the same time. So his teeth will chatter. I don't think I'll be able to do it right, but like, I don't know.
How do I spell this guy's name?
Bashar. Just put that in, and you'll see once you see him.
Channeling. Okay, I've got it.
Yeah.
So there's a theory that the sound that we heard in this trailer was the teeth chattering from Bashar.
Let's take a look at today.
Listen.
Let's. Today is. Today's.
Yeah. Those pops. I mean, those pops are so strange, specific, and eerie. And what is interesting about Daryl Anka is that when he goes into his sort of channeling mode and begins to channel Bashar, he makes the exact same noises that lady makes in that trailer. And this is him doing it live in 2025. Okay, here he goes. Listen up. You hear that?
And
it could very easily be that it could be that,
sound...
and they also used it in The Empty Man.
Okay.
Very, very
wow.
like The Empty Man is that, it's that type of movie that would make sense that's where they got it. Actually.
Oh wow, okay, cool. I'm definitely watching it now.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just another layer of maybe, like, what if? That would be pretty darn interesting, I would say. And then somebody else did an analysis of the billboard, I think Times Square or something, New York City, like, of Disclosure Day's billboard, and the eye. I didn't even catch this myself, but apparently the eye of, like, the alien is upside down, and that had some type of esoteric meaning to it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm really curious to see the direction they go. The challenge with movies like that is that the kinds of, like, people like us, of course, are going to be extra excited to see it, and it comes from the interest in the topic. And so you always go into those movies like, maybe it's going to finally answer all of our questions, and then it just can never live up to it. It's impossible, dude. It can't live up to, like, what the potential is in your head. But this one looks really good. This looks like my favorite with movies like this is at least if they have a coherent narrative that is entertaining and makes it, like, I always liked The Arrival with Charlie Sheen, because at least there's, like, there's at least a story there. It's like, oh, okay, they're here and they're the ones pumping greenhouse gases because they're gonna, they can live in it, humans can't. It's like, I don't think that's happening, but at least it's a story that I can kind of get behind where there are questions answered. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I really liked Contact with Jodie Foster.
Great
that middle
movie.
part. Yeah, I felt like that middle part answered a few questions for me too.
Fantastic movie. Did you guys like? Oh my gosh, The one where with the other redhead girl, and it's like the octopus aliens, and they mess around with time.
Yeah, that was cool too. What was that called, Mike? I know the one you're talking about.
Is that a new one?
Arrival?
Yeah,
Arrival?
I think it is. Yeah.
Arrival. I feel like I've seen Arrival, but there's a new one out that I haven't seen. There's some lady who shaves her head or something, and people think she's an alien. I don't remember what.
Oh, that movie is awesome.
Is it? A friend of mine told me to watch it, and I was going to.
Did you watch
and
it?
And then I watched the trailer or the little blurb, and I was like, that doesn't sound at all interesting to me.
Oh, no. That movie's better than The Empty Man. That movie's fire.
Okay.
That movie's so good. That is such a good movie. I'm not, it's not necessarily just watch it. Like the movie is about what, it's like a guy kidnaps a woman who, exactly. He thinks, But you don't, you don't know if he's just completely batshit or whatever, but that movie's great. It's really, really good. You'll enjoy it for sure.
Yeah, well,
What's the title of that movie?
Watch the other one.
It's called I'll find it. Hang on. It's a weird name. And Arrival is from 2016. And if you haven't seen that, that's a mandatory movie for anybody that's interested in this stuff at all.
Absolutely.
That one, there's no question that you're interacting with extraterrestrials for sure. Here, I'll find it because I literally, it's at on Bugonia, Bugonia.
Yeah, Begonia. That's it.
If you don't like that movie, you can send me a bill for whatever you paid to rent it times 7, and I'll pay it.
All right, deal.
It's that good. Like, I enjoyed it that much.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Any last minute comments or anything, Jesse, from about anything at all?
The only thing that I would like to say is if you guys have any films of that type that you would recommend, because I like if I was going to list things that I would consider myself very, very credible on, movie recommendations, TV recommendations would be very high on the list. But I'm always looking for good stuff, and I've seen most things. So if people give me a movie or a show that I haven't seen, I'm incredibly grateful.
Are you a David Lynch fan?
Kind of. His stuff's a little weird, but
yeah, he's got a lot of disclosure in his films.
There's a series. Kevin Can recommended it, and it was really good. Actually, it was called The End of Childhood. I think it's a book too, but somebody made it a series. It's going back a bit. I think it's called A Childhood's End.
Childhood's End.
Yeah, that. I think you'll like that a lot.
I think that's based on an Arthur C. Clarke book.
Yeah, it is.
And it's on. It's like a sci-fi.
It's a series. It's like 6 or 8 episodes or something like that. But yeah, it's something. I believe it was probably sci-fi.
Okay, I'll check that out.
It's really good. Great storytelling, and the end is not what you're expecting. Tell you that.
I will definitely check that out.
But so I'm just kind of curious, more for fun and games, right? But the lizard people, Jesse, what do you think about the lizard people? Do they exist?
I have not thought a lot about lizard people in general. Like that's, I don't know. Like that feels like one of those dividing lines in terms of, people are like, so you like UFOs? Like, yeah. They're like, so do you believe in reptilians? I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't say I don't believe them. I just don't think about that a lot.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point, because when you get started in this topic and you're exploring it, where does one draw the line? You'll get to a lot of different places like that. So, just kind of curious.
I have certainly entertained that some of the humans that are walking around are posing as humans. Like potentially Elon Musk. Bob Lazar and Dr. Stephen Greer look so shockingly similar that I'm like, I wonder if that's like they're wearing the same human suit.
Interesting. I've not heard that comparison made before. I'm going to look.
I've never heard it said out loud. It's just something I thought about. They look like they're related, man. They do.
Interesting.
Mike, on this comment,
don't consider that me signing off on anyone's credibility that I just listed either. I'm not saying they're not credible or they are. I'm just saying they look alike.
You've probably heard that comment, they walk among us. I have been wondering if that doesn't mean specific people, but it's a reference to all of us. We're all travelers through this virtual reality. So we walk among us. So when you meet someone else, you're basically meeting an ET. We're all visitors to this reality. That's the way I'm viewing that comment.
Yeah.
Interesting. Actually, I think it was the Mantis. We had a guy on who channeled the Mantis people, and the Mantis did say, "You are the ETs that you're looking for."
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know. Yeah, it's wild stuff.
What's your guys' temperature on Dr. Greer?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Once again, I'm very appreciative. What that disclosure project back in, what was it, 2001 was something I watched pretty early on. I was impressed. I'll be grateful, very grateful for what he's done. But that doesn't mean I'm not the sort of person that's on board with everything. You know, with someone, with a political figure, it's not like
sure.
I like everything about them or I hate everything about them. I'm not like that. So I just kind of appreciate what they've done. It's the same with an artist. Like I might love a couple of albums, then I think a couple of albums really suck, but I just appreciate the good things they've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, go ahead.
It's like he's done some great stuff for sure, and he's said some things that sound utterly ridiculous or wild, and then 20 years later we sort of find out that they're true. Okay, great. I love that part about it, but the part that really that takes away, I think, from him is the CE5. Not necessarily that there's something to it, but the charging of ridiculous amounts of money to go do that is where he polarizes himself, I think. Like, pick a lane of which one you want to do and just do it. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, if I was gonna, it's like, because I agree with you on that one, and I've noticed that, like, in his everything that he did prior to that, in terms of his public documentaries, never included any of that really crazy stuff that he does. And I'm like, okay, so he knows where to draw the line with like mass distributed stuff. And I don't know if that means that he knows that he's bullshitting people and he figured out a way to make money with this thing, or if it means that, like, maybe he just thinks that the population can't handle this stuff that he knows is true. You know, I always tend to lean towards people are bullshitting people, but that's because I'm a cynical person in general, but not necessarily, I'm not closed off to anything, you know?
Yeah, no, I will say that there is something to, like, he didn't invent CE5. Okay, he invented the word, you know, the C and the E and the number 5 put it together, but
Yeah.
He didn't invent the protocol itself. That's been around in esoteric traditions since the beginning of time. He just marketed it in a slightly different way, and then that's real. You know. Just be careful if you want to try that. You know, know what you're getting into before you do it. Don't, you know, you got to understand what you're doing first. But there's real that's you know, that's a thing. It just doesn't need to. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars to do it. You can do it by yourself.
Yeah, that's not even necessarily what I was referencing when I said that. Like, I've seen some like of his lectures that I was like, whoa, he's really pushing it today. You know, like. Some of them are anyway, it doesn't matter, irrelevant, as it were. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. This is really fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was awesome for us as well. And then if you're open to it, you know, no offense if not, but when you're ready to share that story about whatever happened on December 31, we'd love to hear it from you directly.
That'd be wonderful.
I will let you know when I have permission from the other two people that were there, because we are not talking about it yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Let the dust settle on that for a little while. But yeah, anyway. But I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you guys.
All right.
Much love and respect to you.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you guys.
So, Reverend Stu, what do you think about all that?
I'm highly impressed, Mike. I really like that man's energy, his openness, his intelligence. He's got a very broad knowledge. I really respect him.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't sure what to expect myself. I've checked out some of the stuff he does, and I totally respect what he does. You know, it's quite different. So I wasn't sure how that would go, but that was awesome. I'm really glad we did that.
Yeah, well, see, that's one of the things I'm liking about this show, like getting people from different paradigms to talk about the subject. And I continue to be fascinated to find out how many people are interested in this topic from all different walks of life.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think everybody is interested in the topic in one way, shape, or form or another. I mean, recently we're just coming out of the holidays here. We're, beginning of January 2026, and I was sitting at the family Christmas table, and one of the folks said, because I got a question about the podcast. I was like, yeah, we're doing good, and we're going to be talking with this guy, Jesse, in January. That should be pretty interesting. And then someone turned over to me, and they're like, so it's real? And the way that they said it was just like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And, I was just like, yeah, it is. And it's like, we're going to be hearing a lot more about it as, the weeks and the months progress. But I feel like the underlying vibration of their statement was trepidation or fear or whatever. And I never got a chance actually to say, there's nothing really to be concerned about. So that's the thing. You don't know how everyone's interested in it to an extent, but you don't know how they're going to react. Does that make sense?
It does. That's really fascinating. I'm impressed that came up during the Christmas period among your family. I've got no doubt it would have. But that's also a fascinating reaction. Oh, no, Mike, you mean it's real? I've got to address this. I've got to explore this topic. What does it mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. And it just, at the moment, didn't feel right for me to go into it. But at one of these points, I'm going to have to go back to that person and just, have a little heart-to-heart, I guess, with them. I see this in a very different light, Stuart, from when we first started doing this,
right?
A couple years ago. Like when in our first episode or something like that, you said like normally it's just you and I. We're talking, we say some weird stuff, and that's as far as it goes. But now we're on like this, we're having a global conversation, as it were, and that is what's happening with let's say there's some very popular journalists out there who are putting stuff out, and I respect what they're doing, but at the same time they're putting it out in a way that's very sensationalized and whatnot. And I get it, like you got to get the audience right, but at the same time, don't cheapen it. Don't do it that way. Like Earl always said, to like the phenomenon doesn't need our help to be any more phenomenal.
Oh, wow. That's such an interesting topic you just brought up there. You're right. Conversations I had about this in the past were one-on-one. And they were kind of broached with trepidation, not from my point of view. I'm always open to talking about situations. But it was great to be able to affirm to someone, yes, I've had similar experiences, and give them a bit of a lead, a way they could explore this further. Now that it's out in the open, it's kind of beautiful in a certain way. But there's a whole different dynamic now where there's a threshold where people are like, okay, that's been authorized as true. I'll talk about that now. And then it kind of gets its own life and we talk about it together. It's like a genre now. You know what I mean? Like a mythological genre. It's kind of growing as we talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a very specific episode that we did in the past where I said, let the chips fall where they may. Whatever happens, happens. Let's bring on catastrophic disclosure, whatever that is, right? We can handle it. And now that I'm seeing what's being cranked out in some of the more mainstream places and then the reactions to that, we already said right from the get-go in that conversation that wasn't a good idea. But yeah, I mean, it's something... we've said it so many times. It's an individual journey that everyone is on collectively, and y'all got to figure it out sort of for yourselves in a way. There is no one size fits all answer, if you will.
Yeah, but I also like that we can support individuals on the journey. So I felt honored today when Jesse started talking about the thing that happened recently, not in too much detail, but the fact that he brought that up at all. It's a real honor, Mike.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it goes in line with this conversation. How the conversation itself has taken on a life of its own almost right from the start, and we have, and our other guests have, and now Jesse potentially has experienced a serendipitous moment of sorts. We don't know exactly the details to that yet, but it's interesting that first of all that he was so open enough to even share the little bit that he did. And then also that it happened, whatever it was, happened like after we were scheduled to talk, but before we talked. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to say like, anything at all other than when you start to explore this topic, really, really explore this topic, you do have weird stuff happen, serendipitous moments, if you will, or perhaps this almost sounds like a intervention of some kind in a positive way, but a lot of ET contacts can also be said to be similar or the same.
Yeah, well, I believe that knock on the door will be answered, seek and you shall find. So I think once you start asking the questions, you're going to get some answers. Maybe not straight away, but you'll have occurrences in your life, serendipitous synchronicities, people coming forward with information, people using a phrase that you heard earlier that day, and you think, "Wow, how did that happen? That's really odd. I haven't heard that in a decade." What's that supposed to mean? Just little indicators, and I get that happen in my life. I've had that happen this week. So I like that. I feel it's comforting. So I've had the dark night of the soul, where I've had all the shocking revelations, and what is life, what's going on. I feel good now. I feel comfortable about whatever's coming, Mike. So, and I've been supported by other people too. So it's a kind of like a pay it forward thing, and I feel that we can maybe play that kind of role for people now and in the future. I'm hoping.
Hopefully so. So I think that this is a great start off to our new year and our third season, as it were. So thanks for joining us, all you out there. And we've got a lot more consciousness expanding conversations headed your way. Reverend Stu, any final last words for the new year?
As always, much love to you. You get what you focus on. We're powerful creators. Let's focus on making a beautiful future together. Much love.
Oh, wow. Awesome.